Hello everybody, the Lord Root here, and welcome to another episode of Let's Play Kerbal Space Program. If you might remember last time we got ourselves poised to drag a new piece of hardware to our space station, to our mole space station in orbit of the moon. And so instead of making a rocket launch, we are actually going to go to this vehicle that would be AST and make the flyby there, and then maybe attach everything. I'm hoping that this is something that we can do in preparation for the I suppose the landing of the Kethane station next episode. So we'll really just take a straight shot to the moon here. We'll just adjust our orbit some. Don't reckon that'll be too far in, I think. Let's see, where are we at? 22 kilometers. Let's get ourselves up into a nice phasing orbit where we can easily rendezvous with the station. That is some 800 meters per second. And it doesn't look like we have a lot of fuel at first, but in reality we have plenty. So we will just get ourselves into position and get going here. And that is going to be a rather long encounter. But it'll probably be worth it. I guess we could decrease, see, that just increases the amount of time we have. So why don't we do this? Why don't we bring this thing down quite a bit. I think that other encounter we had was much better. And we will just, we'll get ourselves into a decent orbit. I probably should have stayed where I was to begin with. So we'll go with like maybe 300, 400 something. And as for how long this will take, that is a good question. Unfortunately, I don't really have a good answer for that, so I'm going to assume it's going to be like a 2-minute burn or whatever, because we do have a fairly heavy mass. And we actually started a little bit on the late side, so we may have to do a little bit of correction. However, we are good on fuel efficiency here, and we do have plenty of fuel despite the fact that it looks to be the complete opposite. Because we do, in fact, have some amount of delta V here to burn off. So we're just going to run this at 2 times physics acceleration, in the hope that maybe nothing will go wrong. Maybe I should do a better job of centering this. But as you can see, we have barely consumed any fuel at all, so I don't believe we're going to end up in the same situation we did last time, especially considering that on top of a full tank we have a little bit of extra fuel in our payload. So we'll have to use our discretion here because we are going to be a little bit late to the moon. A little bit later than I intended to be, anyhow. And, I guess we could possibly use some RCS to give us a bit of an advantage. I don't know if it'll do too much of it, and we don't want to burn too much RCS because we're going to need it to dock. But maybe if we could just speed the process on just a little bit, that wouldn't be too hard. Maybe we could sacrifice that 10 units. And so, anyhow, we'll do the rendezvous. And we'll do, some major surgery on the space station. Now, it's of course worth noting that we do have I guess in addition to the amount of time it'll take, and we will have to actually kill our throttle just a little bit because we are getting to that critical point where it will make a bit of a difference, but we are getting to the point where that can be a bit of an issue for us. You can see we're already on a collision course with the moon, and I don't know if there's too much that can be done about that. Maybe by burning a little bit more we can get ourselves into a nice 300-meter orbit. So there we go. We have about a 7-hour encounter, and we'll do the little dance that we do here, that we almost always invariably do. And we should be approaching fairly soon. I'll just wait until we get very, very close. Because it seems like despite everything else, if we do slow down time acceleration, that this does make the trip a little bit easier. So, have we used all of our fuel here in this tank? I reckon probably so. Oh no, we still have a little bit more. That surprises me a little bit. So we're going to have to do some very interesting things here. Looks like we just transitioned over, and we are on the complete opposite side that we want to be on. So unfortunately this means that we're going to have to rotate our orbit just a little bit. And that is not quite what I wanted to do. Let's see if there's any way we can change this, because we do want to be going the opposite way. It appears not. So, I guess what I'll do is I'll just hope that we can get, MechJub to play nicely with us. We didn't get as nice of an orbit as we wanted, because we, of course, ended up on the other side. That's 210 meters per second at delta V that we need. We will, well, first of all, I guess it would help us if, perhaps if we, perhaps if we, rotate it around, and this is going to be a very difficult craft to do this with because it's not the world's best thing to be doing, but we will be at periapsis, so I suspect that we'll be close to this retrograde marker here. This is a particularly a bad place to be usually. I don't really like coming in on this side of the planet, or of the moon rather. And I probably would have been able to prevent it if I were paying attention. But such as it is, we have, let's do this real quick. See what maximum thrust is like. Okay, so that's 52 seconds. We want to burn then for about 30 or so, I think. 30 will overshoot it a little bit, but that is probably the best we're going to be able to do there. And I think we just lost the majority of that fuel. So, anyway, we will get this thing aligned, and, we'll pretty much, finish off. We're getting pretty close to, the orbit we want, and that may actually be good enough. I'm going to call that good enough because we're going to rely on MechJub to do what is necessary for this. So, as much as we probably shouldn't, but I did put myself in a very precarious situation to begin with. Now, I guess maybe what I could do is I could make an inclination change to flip that around, and I wonder if MechJub will do that. I'm almost thinking it will, but you can never tell. Yeah, it looks like it's going to do an inclination change. How much delta V do we have here? We still have plenty of delta V, so that is going to be okay. It'll unfortunately take a little, almost half, a little bit more than half actually, in order to do that plane change. We watch it here on the map. It's got us doing something very, very odd. And play change may have actually been a little bit cheaper here. I don't know why it's chosen to do it this way. But it looks like it's decided that the best thing to do is to burn retro and to more or less bring our switch around our orbital velocity. My way of thinking is that if we wanted to change our rotation, we would flip it 180 degrees. But that way, it would turn us upside down. The question, of course, is going to be when we do this, how is it going to affect us? And I guess in reality, if the plane change is really the better idea, I mean, we're far out enough to where a plane change would make sense. Do you usually want to do those far out from the body where your orbital velocity is lower? Well, we might have actually profited from that. And had I seen it, I guess I would have made that correction. It is rather interesting that well, maybe that is the way to do the plane change, though, in this case. Because that's essentially what we've done. We've essentially flipped ourselves over by 180 degrees. And so I guess I could send, at least I have the tanker I can send out here again. And we're about to have Kethane. So it's circularizing our orbit. I guess it likes um, our orbit the way it is. Unfortunately, that won't take too much time. Or too much of the way of Delta V. It should be a fairly straight shot. Here's an interesting question. Why is our descending node moving? I guess that's the effective descending node that's moving. But at any rate, we have almost straight insertion. That means we have about 700 meters per second to get home. Probably not enough. But you never can tell. I mean, it'll actually be a little bit more than that, I think. So we will want to send the tanker out here, I believe, because that will result in the the best approach we can get, I think. It's going to be about 500 once we get out here, and we do want the thing to be fueled up. We don't have to really top off the fuel as such, but we do want enough Delta V to be able to get back. And once we get our kethane mined, we may actually just take this thing and create a dedicated tanker for this. So, that will be coming up fairly shortly. And it will, of course, when we hit this point, it will null out our velocity. So, all in all, we'll have about 550 left. And that, of course, means, Donhat will have to make an extended stay here. Hopefully, not extended to the point that, not really extended to the point that, this thing will require too much in the way of, Delta V to get back. There is one thing we do have to consider, of course, when we run our tanker, and that is, pretty much whether or not, we'll just kill this here. Whether or not, you know, we want to, oh wow, where is this thing? Is this it over here? We want to consider, how we're going to distribute fuel between the surface of the moon and our space station, because that will make things much easier for us. So hopefully, I hope this correction will not take too much longer. We can use RCS for the remainder of it, I think. But once we get close enough, we're going to want to, you know, we're going to want to, set this thing up to, grab one of our constructor craft. This will invariably, change the center of the mass on the station. Now I'm thinking, instead of doing what I considered doing, which was moving one of the tanks, like moving that tank in the center to the outer edge, I was thinking instead maybe the best thing to do would be to, potentially, we'll just time accelerate some, get us a little bit closer in. We'll just bring this thing, we'll leave it where it is, and we'll attach this to the exterior. and we'll do like a 45-degree turn on it and expose both of those docking ports. And that should push us out when we do that. So, we are pretty much done here. Let's get this thing into a favorable orientation. What we'll do is we'll take this guy and we'll just leave him up here in a northerly direction. I guess instead of trying to fight SAS, what we'll do is we'll lock in about here. So here our orientation is fairly important. And we're going to want to take both of these constructor craft. I'll take the one here because it's oriented more or less. In fact, let's control from our thing here. Get this thing at a moderately decent heading. One of the things I think that adding more mass to the station will do is I think it'll make these subtle changes in our heading very it'll make it more resistance. So we'll decouple this node and we'll grab this guy and we'll just get out of the way. So, as you might remember, we want to dock to this guy here. I'll get rid of the Delta V stats because we don't really need that. We don't need the rendezvous autopilot either. And let's control from this docking port. So, we'll just go ahead, we'll move in towards this one point and hopefully not collide with our docking adapter. This is where something like quantum struts might be fairly useful to keep the entire station together. So we're doing a fairly complex series of operations here. And I guess we're not all that complex, but we at least want this to be green. And you know what? Let's turn off RCS. Let's get on our fine control. And let's go ahead and take the initiative and get this thing properly oriented. So, when we do this, of course, we will want to move to the left. Bring this over just a shade. And we'll kill that once we get to a low enough point, which I'm not sure how low that'll be. We'll get this thing close enough, I think, to where we have some form of stability. And the idea is that we're going to use AST to hold on to our old tank to make sure it doesn't spin out of control. Because we've already got it up here, we don't want to lose it. And then we will get this thing in as close as possible. Let me just do a quick RCS burn. Stabilize our heading. And let's not do that. There's no need to waste precious RCS fuel. Now, of course, the controls are backwards. We need to rotate just a little bit. And that will get us, I think, more or less on target, because here that rotation is actually quite important. Although, it's worth pointing out, I think, that, this guy here is pretty, pretty easy to move about. So let's get the center taken care of real quick, because we are about to pass this up. Let's not kill our velocity too much. And we let that go way beyond the amount it needed to. We may actually dock a little bit sooner than later. So that, I believe, is probably good enough for our purposes. So before we stray too far to the right, I'm going to get this thing to dock. And there we go. now that this has been taken care of, well, I guess first of all, let's get a little bit closer into the station. And we won't use all of our monopropellant, of course. And we'll bring this guy down for further um, further construction in a bit. So let's get, oh, I don't know, about maybe 50 meters in or so. We'll kill our velocity because I don't see it really getting too much lower at this point, and we don't want to drift. You know, we don't want to drift past it. And we also want to lower this some. So we will just, we're already drifting past it, it seems. So we'll do this. We'll null out our velocity. And we'll get back into a decent orientation. And you know what, I actually do not know precisely why I did this, considering we're not taking off that bottom part. I guess unless we wanted to put something on the top. Anyhow, we'll just leave ourselves there, and we'll get back into this other orientation we had, and we'll let this thing work its magic, because now what we have to do is pull off that old fuel tank that would be very useful for us to if we attached it here. I mean, obviously we want to save that for last, but we'll just detach this docking port here, and we will get this thing ready to go. So the easiest way, it seems to me, to do that is to go ahead and get out of the way of this thing. Set this stocking port as our target, and this will drift a little bit. And since we're doing it this way, it probably makes sense to have that other constructor. We'll stabilize this just a bit because it is, with no SAS on, it is going to require some thought. Or you know what, we could even probably even do this in an easternly fashion. But we'll target this, we'll set this as our docking port. Let's go ahead and first of all get ourselves oriented correctly. That will take some doing. So that is probably going to be north, the way we're facing. It'll give us a rough estimate of, whoa, fine control may be a good thing to have here. So, yeah, we'll, oh, we're going the opposite direction. We'll get this thing down fairly quickly. We still have plenty of modern propellant now. We're not dragging our heels. And why don't we get this thing going in a semblance of the right direction. So first of all, we need to rotate this thing to where it's in the center, not at a 45-degree angle. And when it turns green, we'll work our magic on this. So we're moving about a meter per second, which is actually pretty fast, in my opinion, in my professional opinion. So we probably do want to start thinking about slowing down just a little bit. We will probably want to move this thing up a little bit as well. And there we go. We should now slow our velocity back down to something reasonable, maybe like 0. 0 would make a good velocity here, I reckon. We're still aligned, which is fantastic. And we will, before too long, have to deal with this thing being a little bit too we'll have to worry about our speed catching up to us. We are very slowly drifting away, so we need to fix that. We need not to let this thing get too far ahead of us. And I'm just going to go ahead and lay on the throttle as we are about to hit that critical point where we're lined up. And we should be pretty well aligned here. So let's just go a little bit further, turn off SAS and RCS. And we should be docking soon, as you can see here. Now, where's that other constructor? That other constructor, it looks, is conveniently right where we need it. We'll first of all decouple this node so that we need to get this other guy out of the way. Not too much, but enough. So we'll move forward just a little bit. Fortunately, there's really nothing in here. I'll just set this as a target. I'm going to null that out maybe once we get quite a deal away. Although we could be but you know what I'll do? I will do this. I'll just move this very slightly out of the way so that we end up out of this thing's range. And why don't we null this velocity out? Because for right now, we don't really need it. We don't really need it, you know, to be encumbering us. So we'll just take this and we will bring our velocity down to 0. Like so. So now our space station actually looks a little bit empty from my perspective. And we, as a consequence, may have a bit easier of a time getting this thing docked. So why don't we go ahead, we'll set Moon Unit Zappa as our target. Now obviously we have the we have to catch up to it. It's quite a while away now. And we'll set this first of all as our target. And why don't we also control from this bottom docking port here? So we'll get in line for this, I think. And that'll be fairly straightforward, I hope. Now there's one of our probes, it looks like. It's just getting this thing lined up that's going to be a pain. So what else do we need to do? We need to, probably wouldn't hurt to align this thing. And for that matter, it probably would not hurt for us to know our velocity, and B, get out of the way of this thing. So we'll be pretty well lined up, I believe, here in a bit. And I think we're about to be at the point to where we're going to want to be very close to the thingy, or to the center, to the origin of this docking thing. And for that matter, we also want to start moving our way in. As we are going to very quickly reach the still here. But hopefully there won't be too much in the way of issues here. We do need to do a little bit more to straighten out this docking. because we are a little bit on the close side, but I'd say that's probably good enough. We'll just let this thing do its magic, unless, of course, we are too far out, which it looks like we are going to be. And that appears to be us very far away from Mole. We need to work on our way back now. Easiest way I think we can do that is simply by um, turning towards it. Unfortunately for us, we're already pretty close. I told Donhat to stay away from acid while he's piloting AST with the module. Well, he's gonna dock that module too, more if he doesn't crash it into the space station. Look at him go, look at him go. So there we go. We have our fuel adapter in place. And we have fuel on those other engines. Now the question is, how far away are we? Because we have pretty much set ourselves again to where I guess we're at least close. But we need to, and I'll quick save in the event of something going horribly wrong, but we should think about potentially taking these constructor modules and docking them. Do you know, it reminds me, I wonder what the delta V on this thing is once we get this module docked. So I'm still having issues with the color space output on my time lapse, but I figured I'd do it anyway, just because of the fact that the video would be 2 hours. And so while I'm doing this, I guess you can get a quick overview of the docking sequence. Hopefully we'll be able to keep this thing stabilized. In the meantime, it's clear to me that our Y needs some adjustment. So this is going to come in rather rather hard, I think, because keeping up is going to be a pain in the ass. But I think, oh no, 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 dock successfully, please. I don't know if this is an indication of failure or what. But it looks like we pulled it off. So, what I'm gonna do now is I am just going to leave that there. To be frank, I don't really feel like messing around with this much anymore. And hopefully next time we will do the actual I suppose the actual moon base landing. So until next time, this has been Dial.